Come on, there. Okay. Do I want this? No, I don't. Okay. Oh, no, I do want that. Sorry, I want this trombone. Right there. Get out. Depart. There we go. Whew. Having a panic attack. Alright, embark. The Piedmont airline from New Orleans was not, in fact, an airline at all, but, according to its advertising, the fastest railway in America. Hardly a bold claim, considering there were only 2 truly significant lines in the continent, but nonetheless it gave my master courage when he saw the slogan on the wall of the compartment. Greetings, Monsieur de God. Tickets, please. What about Atlanta to New York? One can also travel this way to New York, I understand. Here's something. Some buyers will pay well for wax cylinders inscribed with music from New York. I just need to figure out how to get across the sea. Is there a route from New York to Punta Delgada? I doubt it, but answer me this. You seem to be in a terrible hurry. Indeed we are. We are conducting a wager. You know what they say. Haste makes waste. I mean, I guess thank you for that. What about Caracas? Let's just say that some buyers will pay well for top hats from Caracas. I'm not finding... Let's try... It's Dakar. All I know is this. I hear the seigneurs of Gorée are formidable women and active in politics. Okay. We settled ourselves in a carriage with one other occupant, an extremely large man who introduced himself as Charlie Sullivan, a lad from Birmingham, who had grown into something the size of a warehouse building, who was most impressively sculpted, especially around the neck and upper arms. His mustaches were nonetheless perfect. I asked him what had taken him to New Orleans. He grunted, "Boxing." You fought in a competition," I interrupted. "There was an exhibition," he said. "I won. 3rd round knockout." I gulped. However, Monsieur Fogg's interest had been increasing sharply throughout the conversation. You are trained? You are trained, he demanded keenly, or self-taught? I've got a manager, Sullivan replied. He tells me what to hit. Excellent, excellent, Monsieur Fogg enthused. I want to hear all about it. I could not believe it. We had seen a good proportion of the world, and here on this train something at last had piqued my master's interest. Boxing. We disembarked a little later in Atlanta, and I sighed with relief, as though sharing a compartment with Monsieur Sullivan had resulted in less air to breathe for the last few hours. Alright, how are we getting out of here? Okay, Washington. So they are talking about Washington, D.C., not Washington up here. Good to know. But still no way to get across the bloody ocean. Alright, so we need to depart now. Railwaymans, let's try this. No charge tomorrow. We're going for free all the way across here. Okay. Departs tomorrow, 10 a.m. Okay. I think there's something else I want to sell in Atlanta, so I'm going to wait until the market opens. Atlanta, at the heart of Georgia, is a busy city with construction in every corner. Americans, it seems, do everything by hand, and there were no signs of automata or even steam-powered lifters. Instead, work gangs with pulleys and ropes lifted log beams and stone into the place. Still, the mood of people was positive enough. We may not be much to look at today, mister, declared Stanley Goodman, owner of Goodman's and Goodman's, a curious hardware store, bakery, and bookshop, into which I stopped to buy something for lunch. But in a few years' time, we will be state capital, and after that, who knows? You wish to take over the federal government, perhaps? Monsieur Goodman laughed nervously. Well, now, a court of justice might do the trick. There's the university and the Episcopal Church. Episcopal, that's how that's pronounced. There's the university and the Episcopal Church are doing. There's the university, the Episcopal Church are doing. That's how that sentence is phrased. That'll be putting them all out in a few years. And he tapped a chinking pocket full of nickels and nodded. We're the New South. We could be capital of that, I think. That would suit. One man's success is another man's loss, which became clear as I walked the half-made streets. Paupers and drunks cowered in corners, sheltering in rubble heaps and overgrown wastes, and who knows who had once lived here before, of whom all trace had now been broken down and burned away. Oh, no, I don't want to purchase yet. I'm waiting for the market to open, because I'm pretty sure I've got something to sell here. And if I'm going to be honest, let's sell as much as we can so we can get some money. Alright, wax cylinders are what we're selling. Hooded cloak, urban traveler, lefted law, Gideon's Bible. New York. Cool. Let's sell that in New York. Alright. Depart. Washington. Embark. Cool. I mean, so far at this leg of the journey, there's not been a lot of problems, but the problem still remains that we have 5 days to cross the Atlantic. Another short hop aboard the Piedmont to Washington, the countryside rolled past like an England built on a massive scale. Where trees grew, they formed forests, and where fields stretched, they seemed to carpet the whole world. America was clearly big. One could perhaps spend 80 days simply traveling its length and breadth and admiring the view. What is your wish, master? All is well with you, I trust? There are still a few days left to us. We cannot afford to lose a single day. Alright. Let's get to Washington. The train was as fast as advertised, and we arrived into Washington in short order and without incident. Alright, what do we got next? How do I get to New York? Departs in 2 days. What is going on? Can we... No charge tomorrow. Cool. I mean, we're doing real good with the Railwayman thing. I'm so glad I purchased that. Of course, we're in Washington. I don't think there's anything to sell in Washington. The valeting, rest and recuperation. Urban traveler, rest and recuperation. Dusty road. This is from New York, and that's from the Railwayman, and that one's for New York too. So we're just going to go ahead and sleep on it and get out of here. People were somewhat wary of Monsieur Fogg as we roamed the streets of Washington. Several buildings had not yet been rebuilt since the burning of the city by English forces in 1812. Yikes. It seemed an overprotective reaction. Not only was that particular skirmish 60 years past, Monsieur Fogg was clearly not a military type. Still, not everyone was cold. A few people were out to make a quick buck, as right and proper and the Californian dream, which is spreading slowly but surely across this great empty continent. Do you want the full... No, they're not in England. Do you want the full tour, gentlemen? Asked Hank Hinberry, a man with smooth dark skin and fine leather jacket who strolled up to us as though we were cowboys on his main street at the strike of high noon. We are not staying. You're leaving? He smiled. You haven't seen what this place has to offer. Indeed we have not, I replied, with gentle irony, which I do not think registered in his cheerful face. Hank leant in closer. Tell me now, he purred. What's your poison? Cognac. He looked a bit puzzled. Well, now, I don't know that I know what that is, he said. But here we make bourbon. It's the best drink known to mankind. I looked at my master, who seemed indifferent. I shook my head. You fellows are no hope, Hank replied, and then took his leave abruptly. A narrow shave, I suspect, Monsieur Fogg confided as we stepped away. How unlike him to have an opinion. I think perhaps Monsieur Fogg dislikes Americans as much as they dislike him. It was day 76. We had barely 100 hours remaining to return home. Yikes. Alright, let's get out of here. I can only hope that there's like some speedy transit in New York. We reboarded the train and settled ourselves in for the short ride back along the coast to New York City. Come on, somebody tell me it's done. Greetings, Monsieur le Garde. Tickets, please. Monsieur, you know all about New York. Well, indeed. I think Caracas is on this side of the Atlantic. I don't know about... Can you travel from New York to Dakar? Here's something I do know. The loss of the slave trade has hit Shanghai hard, but answer me this. Do you play football? Yes, I've played a few times. I'm trying to start a league back home. What can you tell me about Dakar? That is past my role, I think. Okay, what about Porto Novo? There's something I do know. That Dahomans value martial prowess, I have heard. What about Freetown? I don't know, but listen, I've heard it's a town founded by ex-slaves. So no roots, but we know of stuff. The journey was brief. The Atlantic flashed in the sunshine, beckoning us onward. We were so close to home, but could we cross in 4 days? Yikes. So, Ponta Delgada is our straight shot through. But that's going to get us to Lisbon and then to London. Though, we might... I don't know if we go Quebec and then up to Reykjavik. I think that's how that's pronounced. We come up around this way, if that's more useful. I don't know. I think 3 stops sounds appealing, but the travel might be longer. I'm not sure. Now, I think this is still... I think this is still longer to go up and over than to go around this way, even though the circumference of the Earth would be a shorter straight shot here by coming up and around instead of going straight across the Atlantic this way. We're still going to be the same amount of time. Alright. Could we cross in 4 days indeed? New York. Alright. Market. Let's sell the trombone. Let's sell... I thought we had something else. Oh, it sells for high price in some markets, but it doesn't say. I thought it was supposed to be here. Buffalo hide, Smith & Weston. We're not going back to Atlanta. Lisbon. I don't think we're ending up there. I mean, let's just go with the apples. Let's just sell the cotton flour while we're here, because I don't think we're going to use that. Alright. Suburb haggling passport too. So really, we're stuck here. Alright, hotel. Please tell me there's a way. Oh gosh. I was pickpocketed in New York. I trusted my unstealable wallet to keep me safe. It worked charmingly, bringing the thief a cropper just as they were running away. They anchored the elastics sudden and severe enough to lay them flat. I snatched back my purse and marched triumphantly away until once around the corner I collapsed with a deep sigh of relief. A valet who loses his wallet is no valet at all. The shock passed and I made my way back to our hotel before anything more untoward could befall my delicate person. Relations with fog have strengthened slightly. Alright, let's hope that there's a way out of here. Winnipeg. That's great if I was going backwards. Oh, that's what we need. Right there's what we need. Oh my gosh. I browsed around, my ears open, investigating the various ways in which we might continue. We need to depart. We need to get here. Departs at 3 p.m. Arrives Wednesday. I think that we could do this. Hire extra space. Let's go for it. Oh my gosh. We might actually be able to do this. We left New York aboard the Henrietta, an old Confederate airship converted by transatlantic mail carrier. We would reach London in 3 days, barring any unexpected delay. Oh, come on. Let's do this. Adventurer Fogg expected back shortly. My heart's beating right now. Like, I did not think I would be able to do it. The ocean tore along beneath us. I enjoyed talking to no one. There was nothing I needed to know, no one to charm, flatter, or beguile into giving us aid. There was only the wind and the time, and we could control neither. Passepartout? My master demanded. Make us go faster, if you would. Let's see. Should I approach the captain? Let's talk to the boiler attendant. Faster, you say? It can be done, but it would destroy the engines. We want no risk, no danger. Then I promise you we will be in London in 2 more days. I think we can do this. Oh my gosh, Henrietta, be our savior here. Converse. Monsieur Fogg looked out of the observation deck, windows with perfect calm, as though we were not, with every passing moment, drawing closer and closer to London. My nerves were in shreds, and I was nearly chewing the rails with anticipation. I spent the remaining time watching every possible danger, one eye on the crew, the other on the ship, ready to react to the slightest trouble, but nothing broke the peacefulness of our day. Oh my gosh, we're almost there. We tethered at the airship dock in Hyde Park, and felt, For the first time in 79 days, the feel of English soil under our shoes. At long last, we had returned to London and in time to win the wager. Yes! Woo! We used no banks, we got to 20 different cities, and we completed our trip. London. I seized my master by the collar and threw him into one of the steam carriages idling on the banks of the Serpentine in Hyde Park. "To the Reform Club!" I shouted. Jesus. Retrieving a blade from our luggage and holding up to the driver's throat. We've got enough money. Let's go ahead and throw 50 pounds at the driver as an inducement to speed. And you'll have another 50 pounds when we arrive. Now drive. There is no need for such unseemly haste, Passepartout, my master noted. But I was a man possessed. The streets of London seemed quaint and old-fashioned as they flashed past my well-traveled eyes. The carriages were mostly horse-drawn, and gas lamps rather than electricity lit our way as we raced down Pall Mall. The carriage barely shuddered to a steam-hissing stop before I dragged my master from his seat and up the steps to the imposing doors of the Reform Club. I released him only when we reached the great saloon, where my master's 5 antagonists stood from their chairs, gaping in an attitude of great shock. Monsieur Fogg only straightened a little and said in his calm voice, "Gentlemen, here I am." The room erupted into cheers, and I staggered to the nearest chair and collapsed heavily into it, my hands shaking. I realized as though a spell had suddenly broken that my master had won his wager of 20,000 pounds. With the 4,000 we began, and with our remaining funds, it was a profit of over 18,000, hardly a meager sum. My heart began to beat again, and I saw for the first time the grand interiors of the Reform Club, which had no doubt remained untouched since its founding some 30-odd years ago. The most advanced piece of technology within was a gilded clock set upon the mantelpiece. A few club members were muttering about the impropriety of alighting in front of the club from a steam carriage. I pushed my way through to Monsieur Fogg, who had nearly been swallowed by congratulatory crowds. "You have won the bet, monsieur," I told him, as though saying aloud once more would make it more real, and then repeated the sentiment again for good measure. Monsieur Fogg pressed my hand warmly, and did not remark even once upon the impropriety of my gesture. Indeed, though his cool gaze did not so much as waver or soften, I believed he welcomed the chance to shake my hand. "I thank you for your service as my valet, Passepartout," Monsieur Fogg said coolly. "Though you did not perform your duties with particular skill, you were not particularly incompetent either. Steady mediocrity is a quality I admire in a servant." After all of that, that's the best you got. Ah, gosh. With Monsieur Fogg, one had to take one's compliments as they came. "Mr. Fogg! Mr. Fogg!" one of the journalists in the crowd cried, interrupting our conversation. "What next for the great adventure of Phileas Fogg and his loyal valet, Passepartout?" My master looked at me. I returned the glance. "I have always wondered what is at the center of the earth." I looked around at faces of the assembled crowd and quirked an eyebrow. "Anyone care to make a wager?" Monsieur Fogg refrained from rolling his eyes. "I believe," he said, with great deliberation, "that tonight I will have supper and go to bed. Come, Passepartout, it grows late." "Yes, Monsieur Fogg," I said, and followed. Your journey round the world is complete. All right. Whew, we did it. And with a day to spare, just like in the book. Just like in the book. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on this journey around the world in 79 days. Celebrated Englishman Phileas Fogg wins round the world wager. Journey completed in 79 days despite slow ride on horseback across the steppes, nights of rough sleeping, and arrest in Vladivostok. Alright. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. It's been a wild ride. That's where we got arrested and got hung up, but we still managed to make it after a little bit of stealing of a boat in the middle of the Pacific, but we made good time in America and the Atlantic, and we made it across. All right. Thank you very much again for following me till the very bitter end of this journey. And if you liked this video and this series, I encourage you to subscribe to me, because there are many other games and series that are coming forth from this. And as always, I will see you on the next game.